When you reach the end, will you wait for me? Holding out a torch that's lighting up the way. I can't run and I can't crawl, but as soon as I scale your castle walls, I'll try to find you. 'Cause I know I see it all tonight. Oh, I see it all tonight. I want you come alive. I feel the world around us. I see it all
to Boston, lives in a world she's lost in, victim of compromise. He's staring at her Aberdeen heart, London eyes, Glasgow bones. She's whistling the catacombs, a paradox. He's in love with the statue in a marble block. He's in love with the girl that time forgot. She just shakes her ears. She's falling too far with salt in her scars. Won't let it taste her tears. She's falling too far. The girl that time forgot. tarantula torments an angel in disguise. But he can see your Aberdeen heart, London eyes, Glasgow bones. She's a whistle in the catacombs, a paradox. Oh, he's in love with the statue in a marble block. He's in love with the girl that time forgot. She just shakes her ears. She's falling too far with salt in her scars. Won't let him taste her tears. She's falling too far. The girl that time forgot. That time forgot. The girl that time You let her go, catacombs. You let her go, let her go, catacombs. You let her go. She just shakes her ears. She's falling too far with salt in her scars. Won't let him taste her tears. She's falling too far.
Welcome back, everybody, to more Paladins competitive action. This time looking at the collegiate scene with all the Paladins players from North America participating in this $10,000 prize pool of the AVGL, bringing you guys the collegiate sports. Of course, I'm Alan. I hold shift down at Frio. And with me today as a duo caster, we will have Smidgen on the microphone. How are you doing today, Mr. Smidgen?
Doing pretty good. Excited to see this college scene get going.
Without a doubt, our first two teams up will be the Bulldogs from Mississippi State. They will be playing up against the Patriots of George Mason University. And as we look at the draft, a lot really actually riding onto this matchup as Mississippi State is sitting at a total of 3-1 in their standings. George Mason at 2-2. And for those of you who are unfamiliar, is this the group stage that will eventually lead to the top 2-3 teams from each division going on to a playoff-style bracket at the end of next week. And Mississippi State with the first pick has elected for the Makoa. And to respond, George Mason sticking in line with the current NA meta, which is getting frontliners early and often as they pick up a Torvald and a Barrick. And damage dealers here mentioned Victor and Drogos. A very early Victor pick thus far for Mississippi State.
Pretty smart to take it away from them at the same time as the Drogos. While Androxus does counter the Drogos, I think that they're going to get a lot of value out of the Victor, especially that shield melting potential against the Torv.
Without a doubt. And again, no supports have been taken until this Ying was just locked in. And we'll take a look to see what the third option is as George Mason continues to decide what they would like to kind of round out this roster. So it looks like actually there may have been a lobby issue as we were doing the drafting. So we're going to kick it over to a break as they remake the lobby. We'll be back with the rest of this draft as soon as we're able to. Stick with us. All right, ladies and gentlemen, sorry about that little delay, but the game has been remade, and we are back with you with the draft. And again, we were waiting just previously on what was the third pick, and rules do stipulate that for the remade lobby, there will have to be the same picks in the same order, so we should see those coming up very quickly on screen as we in fact are. And we'll take a look to see what was going on with the Ying, as we weren't sure which that third pick was. And it's actually going to be a Tyra, surprisingly enough, being selected against solely just the one frontline right now. And of course, Tyra does very well against frontliners thanks to her firebomb, and of course just her ability to put out some raw damage and to respond. It'll be actually a Grover pick for the support from Mississippi State in Eevee, which has become a lot more common in the competitive meta, especially over the last week.
Yeah, Eevee, not a really bad pickup at all. Although she's fallen out of favor. Just the ability to get in the back line so quickly. She's a lot safer of a pick than, say, a Buck a lot of the time, although his health pool is greater. Her ability to get right back into her team with that wormhole, which is generally opted for, most likely going to see that this time around, just very safe.
Yeah, this last pick is some deliberation, as we saw Fernando hovered over, Pip hovered over, and the lock actually going the way of the Canessa, which is not typically a pick that you normally see going up against a strong flanker in the form of Eevee. We'll have to see how they best decide to utilize this Canessa. And again, having the double front line already with the Barrack and the Torvald should provide for some good deal of zoning and what should hopefully be a victory up front in the trenches for George Mason. But the big storyline will be, what can Eevee do against the more stationary targets in Tyra and Canessa, both of which are very easy to chase down with either Soar or the Wormhole, as we would anticipate being the legendary for Eevee. And again, the other damage dealers, the Drogos and the Victor, is just a lot really coming out for Mississippi State as far as the damage numbers go. But again, we've seen a lot of teams that go with heavy damage not be able to win the war up front. And even though they win the game at the end from having the top numbers in the damage category, the scoreboard sometimes read differently, as they're not able to sit themselves up and get the sustain needed to stay on point or keep the payloads moving as well as they normally could with a stronger frontline composition. Is there any team in particular here on Fish Market that you enjoy more than the others, Pigeon?
I think I'm going to favor Mississippi State this time around. They've got a great mid-range damage in Victor, aerial presence on top of that with the Drogos, and then the Eevee able to jump in and out. Not to mention the Eevee synergy that can potentially come out from an axe from Grover, a stray axe just hitting somebody can automatically have somebody an easy finish for the Eevee. As far as George Mason goes, I'm not really sure about the Tyra pick. Just such an open map here in Fish Market. Not a whole lot to firebomb, as Makoa I generally don't think is going to go straight to point because the Barrack and Torvald are already going to be on it. So maybe not too much out of the firebomb, but we'll have to see. And as we get synced up and back into this game, we're going to look at the lineup over here. And on the side of Mississippi, we got Paper Towels playing the Drogos, iCarry playing the Eevee, Icy Ram on the Makoa, Pookum on the Victor, and Dancing Buffalo on the Grover. Then over on the red side, we have Defective Rhythm playing the Barrack, Candern on the Ying, Noob Fox on Tyra, OT1 Kenobi on the Canessa, and Mitney on the Torvald. First impressions looking at the lifelike pickup, even though it has a nerf, 30% less healing, they still do feel comfortable with that. Not a very bad option setting up with the Barrack. It's going to help them out a lot, especially because they need to be able to keep their Canessa up at the same time. I expect to see a clone left with the Canessa in the back line, hopefully, or most likely, in order to keep her up, especially from that Eevee presence. And now moving into the point already. See how these teams set up. They already have the Makoa on point. Gets an early hook onto Mitney playing the Torvald, and the Shell Shield has to come out. He does opt to go straight to the point and just stand on it there with the Grover. Shots popping off from Canessa, but iCarry gets into the background with the Eevee, takes her out very quickly, and now Makoa on the run on the outskirts does go down as well. Now 2 people missing from each team on the map, and just very low targets everywhere. People running for their lives and just trying to stay up right now. A great grenade with the help of iCarry takes out the Ying. However, Eevee does drop herself. A double kill going the way of the Victor, and nobody is on point. 24% to 27% here, and the Victor just moving up in a very aggressive zoning position. A little risky, but it does look like it's going to pay off as he is pushing the Canessa out. She is completely distracted and takes a shot from a rocket. Paper Towels on point with the synergy there with the Victor. And now trying to get back on point. Mitney goes down just so quickly. I expect to see, there it is, the Shell Shield coming out, and Barrack just pushing straight into the Makoa. Ends up getting him down with the help of that firebomb from Tyra. Now trying to control point. It's 39%. And Barrack just goes straight into the face of Grover, who quickly vines out and gets back on point. And now Mississippi State sitting here at 84% on the capture point. And there is nobody there to contest it right away. The Barrack doesn't have rocket boots. He does manage to get on at the last second, but a quick crippling axe knocks him down. And on top of that, the Tyra does go down as well. And now it's just Makoa holding it off all by himself here. Shell shield is up. He's very low, and that recharge is going off. Torvald just barely able to hang on to this point. He has nowhere else to go, and another root axe just takes him down right away. The overtime is ticking, and the first capture point does go over to the side of Mississippi State.
Yeah, you can't really credit enough to what these deep roots have done for the Grover, as he's been able to find a lot of lockdown on these frontliners, which makes it that much easier for them to be eliminated, especially with the Drogos and Victor able to just freely put down damage, not to mention Eevee's direct shots hurt a lot. And of course, having the Fusillade for Drogos, that extra 50% is not to be shied at, as it can absolutely eliminate players. And again, you see the combo of the root plus the hook once again, and a free shot from Drogos will eliminate Tyra. So this composition going very well for Mississippi State as they continue to find the kills and move the payload at the same time.
Yeah, now as the payload rounds the corner here, this critical hill that needs to be held, and it's not working out so well. Paper Towel's already taken down the Canessa with the help of iCarry. This Eevee is doing so much work in the background. Although she does go down, she forces everyone back, and not to mention, almost everybody's low. A Hyper Beam to try to force everybody off point, and now the Crossfire comes out, but not too much picked up off of it, only managing to pick up the Grover, and the payload is still on the descent here, with only Mitney holding it off, playing the Torvald.
Yeah, this Makoa is going to be able to stay here for a while, as he's got all of his damage dealers here with Drogos and Victor still around to get this Torvald taken out. And interestingly enough, the Torvald survives a lot longer than I think a lot of people may have anticipated, but still, that's going to provide a long stagger for that front line. And as the dome shield goes down, Makoa will try to back up away from it, but not able to get out in time, as now it will be the Grover getting back just too late to keep the Grover alive with the Blossom. Eevee and Drogos looking to do some poke and some damage while the rest of the team gets here, and they're able to find a lot of secure damage as Tyra once again falls thanks to all that blaster damage, and right into the face of the Canessa goes Eevee, has to ice block up, and you can see she has taken the Reprieve Legendary, which gets her that extra health, and it has been working out very nicely for her so far, as she has not needed to find really all that mobility from the wormhole as being a necessary part of her kit. The Ice Storm also coming out as well. That will secure one. Another deep root able to hit the Torvald, and he's the next focus fire, and he also falls. So all 5 players for the blue team are here. Mississippi State looks to close this one out, and it looks like they in fact will, going up 2-0.
Just very good play by the Eevee there. I do like the pickup of the Reprieve with just the playstyle that iCarry has brought into this game right away. I noticed just a lot of backline diving and just complete reckless abandon, not caring and knowing that the pickup on the Canessa and keeping everybody distracted and looking back is just going to do so much work for her team in the first place. But also with the Reprieve, you never know when you're actually going to be able to take her down. You still are stuck there staring at the ice block. So just really great plays all around right there.
Without a doubt, and that image is not one to be looking at lightly when you have that Eevee so low, not able to finish her off. The net worth chart, as you can see, is very much so favoring the blue team, but the other big statistic here is the fact that Canessa has not been able to do much. She sits near the bottom, only 9,000 damage thus far, and at the top is the Tyra and the Victor, so the carbine-wielding assault riflers able to find themselves on top of the damage chart thus far, but I'm sure Drogos will have something to say about that before too long, as again, we get going on to point. It will be the Grover actually taking a lot of damage. It looks like for free. I'm not exactly sure where that was. Maybe there's some miscommunication as the barrage comes out a little bit later than he may have anticipated. Able to find a kill, though, is the combination of the Eevee and the Drogos, as Drogos actually finding himself a second, looking for more as the Barrack is on point by himself, as Ying is falling very low, but not being focused. Finally, iCarry able to find the shots needed, and with that, with 4 more blue bodies around the point, they're able to secure the Barrack and looking to even this one back up as they are facing down 50% to now just above 30 for Mississippi State.
And now it's 42% is ticking on the clock. The position by this Victor in the window is going to be key as they try to push in. If anybody can even get close, he's already there with the help of iCarry, taking down the Tyra and not letting anybody on the outside docks of this map, forcing them to just run straight to the Grover roots and the Drogos. And now Barrack on point, just trying to hold it off. Opts to go back onto the other side, but he's in the middle of 3 people. I can only wonder how long he's going to last. Ying shows up to try to help, but a deep root hits her, which makes an easy target for iCarry's Eevee to take down. Now Torvald is just alone as he gets back here. The capture does go Mississippi State once again, and Eevee looking to just finish off here and keep the stagger going against Georgia.
And 13 streak for the aforementioned Eevee. Drogos is on an 18 streak. Victor fighting himself on an 11 streak. So big kill streaks happening for the side of Mississippi State as they continue to push their advantage and look for some zone. Another nice deep root coming out from Grover, and it's been so dangerous. Whether you've been hit by the deep root or the Makoa Dredgeanchor, there's just so much stun lock on this squad for Mississippi State, and the Bulldogs continue to find their way into the fray as Eevee finds herself a really nice ice storm, but she's there by herself and does get focused out. And then Hyper Beam coming out finds 3. What a great Hyper Beam for Torvald as everyone goes sailing that time through. And it's just the Eevee who comes back up by herself. A full team wipe for the Patriots from George Mason.
Yeah, George Mason playing very well there. The positioning, just that was the only time that you can use the Torvald ult on this map, and he capitalized, got 3 people down almost in succession, not to mention the Eevee staggering early, but still holding on to 4 ultimates. Mississippi State is in a really great position to push back into this, especially with George Mason playing so far up. However, the Eevee does go down once again, so making it a 4v5 situation. Torvald playing all the way up onto the cart. He's getting very low, doesn't really have any backup. The Ying and the Barrack move in just in time to help him out and save him. A deep root on to the Barrack and an early dome shield. Maybe a little preemptive, but not anything bad there, as he does definitely save his own life and manage to take down the Grover in return.
Yeah, and with the Illusionary Rift coming out, everyone from the red team is staying rather healthy, and actually not the worst timing in the world, as this will take a lot of time off the clock, but the Ancient Rage looking to respond, but right into the face of that is the crossfire from Tyra. She has the protective bubble also there to keep her alive and looking to focus on the Makoa. This would be a huge pick for them if they can manage to get it, but the chase might be going a little bit too far as Barrack continues to try to chase this one down and just narrowly able to rocket boots away from a Dredgeanchor. So at the end of that, a number of ultimates utilized for really nothing as the payload stalls out. Dragon's Fury coming out looking for a target. It will be the Barrack as Torvald is left by himself in the back line. No one seeming to really care that he's there at the moment. And it looks like the blue team will now finally turn on him to get him down, or at least try to. As again, George Mason starting to fall apart a little bit here on defense, and there is that confirmed shot as Torvald falls. On top of that, we also see 2 more as Tyra and Canessa fall. A nice pull onto the Ying as well. So a delayed full team wipe, and with 4 blue shirts here, it very well could be the last push as we're in overtime. Barrack is here by himself. Barrage is being channeled out looking for damage, but it's not going to make a difference as no one was able to contest, and Mississippi takes the first map 4-0.
Great plays there at the end that were making such a great hold. George Mason had that hill locked down, but paper towels on that dragon punch, just waiting for the perfect time, able to take out the Barrack. And from there, just he was free firing down into the Canessa, gave their team all the room that they needed. And sometimes it's only one ultimate that it really takes to break the defense.
Sometimes that is the case. Sometimes that is what needs to be happening. And that time through, Mississippi State looking like a totally different team than what George Mason was able to put together. Again, it kind of started at the draft, but even more so, just mechanically, George Mason not at the same level as Mississippi State in that matchup. As you take a look, the stat line really tells the whole tale, as Canessa was not able to get going really whatsoever, and that was kind of the big flex pick that we were interested to take a look at. That being said, though, 70,000 damage for Victor, 40,000 is the next closest on the opposite team, or pardon me, 64,000. The next closest on the other team is Tyra, sits at that fancy number. And just below that, we have a couple of people in the 40,000s. But the big stat line really comes down to eliminations to deaths, as again, you can see the Victor able to find a lot, 30 and 2 for himself, kind of tasting and peppering everybody on the map whenever possible. And that would lead to that big stat line. Again, in 70,000 damage, nothing to sneeze at, as he has done very well thus far.
And Mississippi State really looking very strong, not just on the capture points, but those pushes near the end. The coordination the first time around, they were able to keep that stagger going, and the constant pressure on Canessa almost made the pick not worth it in the end. Maybe a little more communication with the Torvald to shield her, but somebody had to stay back and help her out. Either way, very good play coming out of Mississippi State.
Without a doubt. So that is map number 1. We'll be back with map number 2 here very shortly. Again, we're in a best of 3 series. Mississippi State versus George Mason. Stay tuned as we head to map 2 in just a bit.
I'd rather see you in my dreams. In every chance to dance I'll take. If I can't see you again, we could be listening for answers, but waiting to be set free. You came across this moment, and I'm so thankful you shared it with me.
everybody. We are in the drafting phase of map number 2. Al and I hold shift with Smidgen bringing you the commentary today, and of course we have Rude on production. And George Mason will have the first pick this time through on the second map, and things did not go all that well for George Mason in their drafting last game. And I think a lot of that comes down to the fact that they were really not able to focus what they wanted to do. They had the Knessa pick, they had the Tyra pick. Neither one of those really had a very viable situation based on what they were drafting up against. And early on, we were going to see the Makoa first pick, so I guess finding some value out of the turtle is George Mason, and hopefully able to build something nicely around the outside of those potential hook conversions.
Now Mississippi State almost like a swap here, grabbing the Torvald and Barrick like we saw last game from George Mason. So maybe knowing something about those two frontliners together, the shield just so valuable on Torvald, it has nearly an infinite range, it seems like, while Barrick just able to hold down the point and allow that Torvald to move around a whole lot. But a Ruckus and Victor being picked up now by George Mason. And with that double front line on both sides, I expect to see hopefully just several damage characters and one support, as that's probably the best option to go here. But the Victor obviously doing so much work last game against the Torvald, and now George Mason taking notes from that.
Yeah, without a doubt. It's interesting to see the Ruckus pick come out so early in the phase of already there being 2 frontliners from Mississippi State. We very rarely see 3. And with that 3 frontline comp, it seems to be more easy to break in this patch than in previous ones. So interesting choice to take him early, but it doesn't really inhibit them from getting what they really should want, which is that Maldamba, who should be doing very well with the Ruckus. Again, those right clicks with the Mending Spirits and the Gourds coming out should keep Ruckus nice and healthy, along with that emitter and repulsor field that he's able to bring in his kit. It was a Grover pickup for Mississippi State as one of their supports, and as we say, just one. Grok comes out with the secondary support, really kind of utilized more as a damage dealer in the current patches and with the current changes to his kit. And Tyra once again making an appearance, and this comp in particular I think more favors the Tyra pick than the one previously.
Most definitely. Jaguar Falls is a completely different map, almost taking a 180 from Fishing Market. And Tyra's going to be able to get a lot of value out of those fire bombs this time around, especially on a Barrack who needs to sit on point, maybe even the Grok that's going to opt to sit with him. But I do like Mississippi State's picks as well. While you said it before, Grok more so utilized as a damage dealer, also just so good on Jaguar because everybody is in such tight spaces that those shock pulses are just going to be bouncing everywhere.
Without a doubt, and we'll have to see how, in fact, that is utilized and going up against no Ying here. So no illusions and no lifelike healing. It will just be Maldamba, Grover, and Grok as the support roles. Interesting to see Grover be played a little bit extra than we had previously. But again, Tyra will have a lot of areas to kind of peek around and play like a more traditional shooter. So we'll have to take a look to see how Mississippi State deals with this as George Mason looks to come back from this 1-0 deficit.
And Mississippi State just nearly 4-0 win last.
Welcome into Jaguar Falls, the Temple Isle map set being showcased here as we take a change from the Enchanted Forest. And again, it was a 4-0 in that first map for Mississippi State. The Bulldogs looking strong, but as we have a chance to take a look at the lineups, let's go ahead and dig in as the blue team will be played with George Mason. His Defective Rhythm will be playing Makoa, Noob Fox on Tyra, Kandern on the Maldamba, Ote Wan Kenobi will be playing Victor, and Mitney will be playing the Ruckus.
Now over on the red side, we have Paper Towels playing the Drogos, going for that Fusillade. Just like last time, Icy Ram, this time looking like he's grabbing Architectonics, I Carry on the Torvald, Pookum this time on the Grok, and Dancing Buffalo on Grover with those deep roots again.
Without a doubt, and the current selected interesting legendaries in Architectronics is the first, but also we do have Hunting Party online for Tyra, looking to get that bonus percentage of damage to the entire team, so we'll see if they can focus down those marks. They will very quickly be the red team getting right onto point, as once again Mississippi State trying to get themselves established early. They get to above 24% already, and looking for first blood. They will in fact find it. Torvald hooked into a situation where he's actually able to get a Runic Blast off onto multiple players, and with all 5 players from Mississippi State just huddling on top of the payload point, no one can really contest this, and kills continue to come out for the stacked Mississippi State team as they get to above 80% of the capture point very early on.
Yeah, just very intelligent play all around. And seeing that the other team was just trapped in that little tiny room, the silence was just so valuable. And now the objective already being captured, and just 3 people going down so quickly on the side of George Mason. And now with the shield already so far up in their face, I gotta say, like, they're not in a very good position here. Ruckus is very far up front. He's going to get taken down. The stagger is going to continue. A deep root onto Tyra is going to follow up as well. And now it's just a 3v5 as they continue to move forward with the cart.
And this is kind of showing a little bit of a lack of experience on the side of George Mason, as they have not taken the time to just sit back, get all 5 players right back up, and come back in as a full 5-man team. They continue to find these not favorable odd man situations, as Makoa also drops in the face of what was a 1v5 versus essentially him at that point in time. Ruckus also getting to be the target of a deep root, and all that extra damage coming out of the Fusillade is just so dangerous. Torvald, in fact, is flanking, and very quickly, at not even 2 minutes and 30 seconds do we go 2-0 on the scoreboard. Mississippi State absolutely rolling here on Jaguar Falls.
They're just so strong. They never even really lost a single player. They just continue to move forward at constant, just 5v2 there, or 5v3, and that's just not gonna work. You got to stay in your base. You got to get 5 up. You got to call for the regroup and make sure that you can all exit at the same time, or else you're going to find yourself in that position all over again. And now up 2-0 with Mississippi State. Their net worth just decades, it looks like, ahead, 400 points minimum. And the Barracks sitting on the very top. Brock doing a ton of work at top damage, and the Drogo's just following right behind with that Fusillade, just being able to get so many fire spits off, but just also direct hits as they play into these tight little corners.
Without a doubt, there's only been 1 death thus far, most notably from the side of Mississippi State, so the Bulldogs looking rather invincible against the Patriots and George Mason. And as they once again clump on top of the point, it will be Mississippi State getting that early kill advantage, and of course that's going to lead to some big zoning presence. As you can see, sitting right behind the Torvald is the Grok with 10 minutes, but not able to stay alive. But still, Torvald able to find himself 1, not able to convert the second as of yet, as he hit a little bit of a stasis, it appears, on our spectator. And we'll have to take a look to see how this positioning does either favor or unfavor the Torvald, as he's in a little bit of an interesting spot. He's got no shield up right now, and Makoa is right there looking to do possibly the finishing blow, but in the air is Drogos, looking straight down upon them with a little bit of fury in his eyes. And he does have the ultimate available, but I don't anticipate him using it here. So as we're again dealing with a couple of stasis issues, with the servers unable to provide us with the information as quickly as we are streaming it, we'll be able to come back into this one very quickly. But as it is fact, there is the stasis overcoming and coming right back in. It is a double kill, as both players do fall for George Mason, and we get to above 80%. And this is looking like it will only go one way, as my goodness, the deep roots is absolutely devastating at this angle for the Grover. He's got a free line of sight, and he continues to check out axes left and right. He continues to find those hitting as well. Although the Tyra able to stay alive just barely, and the Makoa hook maybe will pull this one around, as he's able to get the damage done on the Torvald. He's falling very low, and Torvald will in fact fall. But still, it's just the 2 players of the Makoa and the Maldamba left alone on the respective left side of the map for them, as Victor is in an unfavorable duel with the Grover and Grok, and more kills coming out from Mississippi State as they continue to try to get this payload moving.
And unfortunately, more than a stasis for me. The client seems to have crashed. So you go ahead, shoot.
Okay. Dread Serpent coming out for the Maldamba, looking to get some extra zone presence on this attack, but not able to find the damage on behind that. And Maldamba still trying to find a way to get the damage done, but he's not the biggest damage dealer on the team. He needs to be careful. He will back up and get a nice little shield before, and out the gates, this Dancing Buffalo finds himself a long-range axe and finds himself a kill. An interesting Vine into the fray of things, but the Whirlwind right back out, as we will have the Ancient Rage right on top of that, and looks like we hit another stasis issue with the servers as we continue to struggle from the spectator side, getting the server to send us the proper information we need. And we saw the Dome Shield was used just previously to continue to help Mississippi State push and get this payload moving a little bit further forward. But we will jump over to a little bit of a break screen while we wait for this stasis to conclude, as we jump back into game, at least I do. Makoa out a little bit further than he should be, does get picked out. Again, being a little too aggressive, but on the same side of things, the Barrack was on the opposite side of that and also was too far away from his team, and he also falls. So a 4-on-4 as the payload continues to move, but the advantage does have to tilt the way of the red team as Hyper Beam comes out, looks for a kill. Maldamba will fall off. Victor does fall before that to the gauntlet, and you saw the direct damage from the Fusillade right into the Hexa-firing. Ruckus will take him down. Crossfire also trying to get out, but will trade evenly with the Grover, and with nobody left alive, this will result in a 4-0 underneath 6 minutes as we get Mississippi State a very nice needed win very early on in their group stage. They go up 2-0 in the set. They win the set and move on with another win under their belts.
Mississippi State really just showing up. That was such a fast game, and I think that the Tyra didn't quite pay off the way that they had hoped for, and not to mention just the ever forward-moving presence of the Torvald, and only having just the one frontliner, Makoa, needing to look for those kills on his own while they wanted to get Ruckus on point, but Ruckus never actually really made it to point. The Barrack just locking it down, was able to set up the entire time, get both turrets out, and it's just such a hard fortress to break there.
Without a doubt, and no breaking really happened whatsoever. As you can see, the total number of deaths only gets to 8 for Mississippi State. Drogos going a perfect 15-0 with top damage way ahead of everybody else at 40,000 damage. Grover was doing a lot as well at 19,000, but also getting 13,000 healing, and Grok just below 40,000, able to go 23 with actually having 2 solo kills, which is not something you normally see from a Grok. So a lot of damage coming out, and the front line being sustained. Mississippi State looking like the full functioning team that we would expect to be at the top of their division, and they are near that, as this tally will bring them a little bit further up, closer towards Concordia University is. They are the leaders in the Frozen Guard division, sitting at a perfect 4-0 at the moment. And Mississippi State continue to try to find a way to even up and get themselves into that playoff bracket later on. But we will be back with the second match here in just a bit. Give us a minute to get everything spectated and ready to go. And we will be back with the second match of the AVGL Collegiate Paladins in just a bit.
You are someone who can change the world we live in. Don't wait around and let it slip away, 'cause it's all you've got. Stand up and make a move. Stand up and make a move. Stand up and make a move. Yeah, make a move. silence heaping in. Alone with my thoughts, no one to follow. Running on time that's paid thin. Can someone hear me screaming at the top of my lungs? Tell me that I'm only dreaming. Can someone take away this feeling? Feels like I am barely breathing. Come and save me. Tell me that I'm only dreaming. Everything around me spinning. Need someone to wake me up before it's too late. 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 Up before it's too I am only dreaming, trapped inside a world of pain that needs healing. I am only dreaming. Take me to a place where seeing is believing. Tell me that I'm only dreaming. Can someone take away this feeling? Feels like I am barely breathing. Come and save me. Tell me that I'm only dreaming. Everything around me spinning. Need someone to wake me up before it's too late.
I don't understand what they want from me. They take my hands, washing them in dirty water. Try to find what's right in a distant place. So far away, the silence fills my heart with empty space. But now I'm sure of where I'll go from here.
Welcome back, everybody. We are bringing you second coverage of this match between North Dakota State University and the University of Toronto, the Bison versus the Blues here. And again, another best of three set coming at you. I'm Alan Eichel, Chip Donofrio with Smidgen bringing the commentary. And as we take a look at the drafting, Toronto does have first pick. And we will take a look to see what they decide to go here. We've seen the frontliners be prioritized a lot in North America, which is very different than what we see in a couple of other regions, most notably in Latin America, not favoring it as much. But on top of that, also, the Southeast Asian scene last night opted to go with a lot more damage dealers, but not the case here as Toronto takes the first pick of Makoa, and looking to respond, it very well could be another Torvald and Barrick picked up for a double front line for North Dakota.
Yeah, not changing too much up here. Obviously, Makoa, really great first pick, changes the flow of the game with that dredge anchor, not to mention the pluck card if he opts for it. But the Torvald Barrick, nothing new so far here in the collegiate scene. They've been performing very well, especially like last map. We saw Mississippi State taking both of them and having a lot of success with leaving that Barrick on point. But a Cassie Maldamba pickup by Toronto. Opting for the Maldamba pretty early on. I kind of like it. The Dread Serpent's just going to do so much work, not to mention probably the best healer in the game after that lifelike nerf to the Ying.
Yeah, without a doubt, and Maldamba able to focus those heals onto who he wants them, while Ying has to kind of just hope and pray that the targets that are picked out from the illusions are the right ones. And interesting, North Dakota State popping off with a 3 front line right off the bat with the Ying. So that will be easy focus as long as you put illusions nearby. Those frontliners should be getting a good deal of that. And I actually really like the draft from Toronto as well. They pick up the Androxus for some damage with the Cassie, but also opting to take the Ruckus very late in the draft. I don't know if they were anticipating going up against a 3 frontliner, but still, it's interesting to see because Big Game Hunter would be good for Cassie in this certain instance. But the other big thing to note is that there's no Drogos or Shaolin on the table against this triple front line.
Yeah, I was wondering about the Androxus pickup rather than the Drogos. There's going to be a really hard time shield breaking. I know the Ruckus is definitely going to help out on that when he picks up a Wrecker, but just a lot of health to melt through for the Androxus alone. So hoping that they have a plan up their sleeve. As you said, the Cassie big game could play a big role here.
Without a doubt, but we'll have to take a look as we get into game number 1 between North Dakota State and the University of Toronto. And so here we are at Frog Isle, looking to get things going on one of the tighter maps in the realm. And we'll take a look and go through the rosters. For the blue team, it will be Sergeant XD playing the Ruckus. Bulba King will be playing Cassie. Skin UAE will be playing Androxus. Wabafet on Makoa. And Gaze will be playing Maldamba. That makes up the roster for the Blues from the University of Toronto.
Now over on the red side, we have Raishin playing the Ying, the Jolly Llama playing Fernando, Bricks 12 on Barrick, Radish Friends on Torvald, and Matricina on the Victor, rounding it out for North Dakota.
North Dakota State sitting at just a mere 1-3 in the rankings. And on the opposite side, University of Toronto sitting near the top of their division at 3-1, looking to secure this and get themselves further up in their division. If they can find a win here, will be University of Toronto. But still a lot of fight in this North Dakota State team. We'll see what they can bring to the table again with this triple front line. They're actually not the first team to get to point as they continue to find a way to get towards themselves. The Torvald is way out by himself, and he falls very quickly. And a pull onto the Fernando might be the next target as he falls very low as well, but he goes right back into where those illusions are positioned. Makoa not giving up the chase, though, as he continues to contest the point and drop that shell shield and keeps all of his friends nice and healthy, as now Androxus looking to go up in the air and find a way to do some damage, at least to one of the illusions, and also to try to zone out the Torvald, which he will do rather successfully for the start. But still, North Dakota State with this 3 frontline meta is doing very well to hold everything down. They get to above 63% before they get contested.
The Androxus is not finding any room to breathe there. Torvald sticking to him almost the entire time as he's trying to make anything happen for his team. And now that story continues with the Torvald staying onto the Cassie, not letting her go anywhere. She didn't quite have the dodge roll up in time as she fell back. And with 96%, it is going to go the way of North Dakota State first.
And it's interesting to see the Torvald being the one who's getting into the face of the opponents, as you would typically like to see the Fernando doing that because he has the cauterize already built into his fireball, but on top of that, he could be the recipient of a protective bubble, not to mention his shield that he already has in his kit, and that seems to be the case as they are putting the Jolly Llama a little bit further up this time, and he does get himself one of those aforementioned shields. Torvald is going to hold down the other side, so again, these 3 frontliners doing a very good job so far as Barrick and the illusions coming out from Ying are getting themselves established. The illusionary rift coming out very early at 2 minutes and 30. It is the first ultimate we've seen so far. A pull onto the barrack, but again, there's just too many shields at the moment, and this might be the storyline simply because Toronto does not have enough to break this down, even with there being 2 wreckers to start for Ruckus and Cassie. Those aren't the biggest damage dealers to shields in the game, though, however.
Radish Friends using that hyper beam a little earlier there didn't manage to get anybody off the map. He died at the exact same time, however, coming back and able to pick up the Androxus. It's going to be huge as they now have nothing to harass the backline. It's Ruckus alone, Sergeant XD going down. Now the Cassie, the payload is moving nonstop. An Ancient Rage comes out from Wobbuffet alongside a Dread Serpent. Disables that Fernando shield. He's free swinging, going after the barrack. A barrage comes down, but also an Immortal comes out as the Accursed Arm is trying to find anybody in the background. And nobody looked at the payload as North Dakota State just pushed it straight through.
A big misplay from the University of Toronto. They get themselves into a position to try to counter out some of those ultimates coming out from the aggressive North Dakota State team, but nobody pays attention to the payload, and it freely walks in thanks to Fernando being right next to it. So 2-0 goes to the scoreboard, and looking at the net worth, as you would anticipate, thanks to those extra bonus credits when you capture the neutral point, it is favoring the red team of the Bison from North Dakota State. Damage dealt, Victor on top of that chart. Interestingly enough, Makoa is second in line, only by a mere 3,000, so finding himself getting a lot of pluck damage with that extra 80% damage from the legendary card that provides it. Damage shielded going towards the Fernando and Torvald barrack, surprisingly not that high up, as he has taken the Tinkerin style and not the Fortify or the Architectronics. So looking for extra damage from the Blunderbuss as Torvald again gets right into the fray, looking for a 1v1 versus the Makoa, but he jumps right into the fray, going right down Main Street and takes damage from a number of sources. But still, these 3 frontliners have not been really contested whatsoever. Finally, we're starting to get some damage down as it looked like the Dome Shield was maybe about to come out, but a little bit too late on the channel as the Illusionary Rift finds its way onto the field once again. The Ying with an 11 streak is getting that charge up so routinely, has found 2 ultimates in 4 minutes and 30 seconds, and the red team continues to control the point.
Toronto finding their way around 2 different sides of the point, just trying to pincer them in here. He does manage to pick up Victor, the Androxus, now finally finding his stride. He's on the sidelines over here by the pillars. A hyper beam comes out. Ruckus goes flying off the map just as he got back too. And now the scout coming out from Cassie, maybe just for the CC immunity there, not going to help too much as they can already really see everybody on the point. But the Androxus still in the background, manages to pick up one more, but not before North Dakota State still just caps the point. There is nobody able from the University of Toronto to get on there in time, and the Torvald now going down is going to start a little bit of a stagger. Fernando throws up a shield to try to give his team some room as the Ruckus just chases back into the Victor, and a hook back on to the Fernando. He goes down as well, and this part is going to stay still here with 2 minutes left on the clock.
And a double kill coming out for Ruckus, a very dangerous play, but had the team support to keep him alive and finding a lot of value as Victor was low throughout a lot of that. He also gets converted on by the Cassie, who's looking for more, trying to jump into the face of the Ying, but getting zoned out by the Torvald at the moment. And the flip side, the Makoa is getting aggressive, still looking for that support. And again, they seem to focus, if they can get the healer out of the way, this front line is a lot more easy to deal with. And the Accursed Arm plus a couple of bolt shots from Cassie will convert that kill on the Ying. So looking for some front line on front line action with no support from the side of North Dakota State is the University of Toronto, but still, these shields just being too much. The Dome Shield comes up, the Ancient Rage on top, but the Barrage finds a lot of secured damage, and Ruckus will fall, but still, the Makoa in the backline looking to come back towards the payload will find one last shot against the Barrack, and the Immortal triggered just a little bit too late for North Dakota State, but Fernando will survive. And another Hyper Beam comes out, it sends Maldamba way off the map, threads the needle between the rock and the tree, and gets him over the top of that ledge. And a nice another kill for the Hyper Beam on the Maldamba, so no support this time for the defensive side of University of Toronto.
Sergeant XD picking up a kill, gonna start another stagger here as the Androxus is in their backline, opts to go back to heal up a little bit, but Fernando's just so deep, he's gonna just basically suicide there. A great shell shield to save all of Wobbuffet's team. University of Toronto staying alive, although the Ruckus does go down at the last second. The shell shield was able to buy them so much time that a lot of damage was traded back onto the Barrack on the side of North Dakota State, and now letting the payload move a little bit. There's only 30 seconds left. It's much different from last time as the University of Toronto is kind of finding their stride and making this hold here against this really aggressive frontline comp.
But at the same point, again, this area of the map is very dangerous as Barrack and Ying can set up turrets and illusions each, and that's exactly what's happening. And with the extra damage coming out of the Tinker, you can see Barrick is playing a little more passively than normal, and as there is a little bit of an advantage, the Accursed Arm was taken out midair. We will be into an overtime. The Hyper Beam again coming out, and Maldava, just barely able to not get on the map. He hits himself right against the ledge. The Slither was almost enough to pull him on, but not the case, as now it is the Cassie falling. Makoa by himself, the next target, and looking to fall, but still alive as he gets behind the rock, but maybe not enough damage mitigated. The Hexafire from the backline, though, with the Illusionary Rift to counter. This is looking good for North Dakota State, but on top of that, there's the Maldama back into action with the Dread Serpent, but no damage to follow up. It would have been great to see the Hexafire and the Dread Serpent together, but not the case, as again, North Dakota State with the numbers looking to convert the kills.
Just trading so many ultimates there, but nobody on North Dakota State dropping yet. The Ying clone's doing a lot of work, not to mention the just incredible health pool as they take down 2 more on the side of University of Toronto. The Makoa is going to be the next to fall, and now with just the Androxus staying up, trying to lock this down, a barrage straight onto the Ruckus, who just respawned, and that's going to be a push for North Dakota State, taking it 4-0.
The Thundering Herd coming out like lightning this game, struggling in their first 2 weeks of matchups as they had to face some of the top level components in their division. They meet up against the University of Toronto here, who boasts the 2nd spot, and finding success. They find themselves up 1-0 in the map set, as it will be a best of 3. And as we look at the scoreboard again, you can take a look. All of the eliminations happening for the side of the bottom team in North Dakota State. 20-3 was the Ying, and most notably as well, 23-5 with 43,000 damage was the Barrick, with also providing 44,000 shielding, a pretty good number from him in a mediocre length game for a 4-0. It took a little bit to get that converted, but still, the damage numbers and the shielding numbers really say a lot for this side for North Dakota State.
Just so much to deal with. You got a Torvald and a Fernando up front, both of them playing nearly the same role, not to mention bonusing the damage of the Fernando, but Fernando with the top shielding, not usually seeing that anybody getting above a Torvald, so a lot of value coming out of his shields, playing very far up front. I saw quite a few of them coming out to save the victor on those payload pushes, so great play and just good teamwork there this first match.
Without a doubt. And instead, we saw the Torvald sending people off the map. That does bring some interesting play, but still, the University of Toronto falls to North Dakota State. And we will be back with game number 2 of this best of 3 set here in just a minute. Will the Blues be able to bring it back, or will the Bison continue to thunder their way through as the Herd looks to close this one out at 2-0? Be with us in a minute. Welcome back, everybody. Map 2, getting started with the draft between the University of Toronto and the North Dakota State Bison. Again, North Dakota State coming out as kind of a surprise, able to find themselves not only a map victory, but a 4-0 sweep against the daunting 3-1 statistic match loss to win ratio for the University of Toronto, sitting at the top of their division. But North Dakota State looking to possibly put this one away. They will have the first overall pick. And they find some value in the Torvald. Is that what they decide to go as their first pick here, Smidgen?
Yeah, I mean, last map, able to do so much with the Torvald. He was just running in everybody's face, not to mention shielding the Fernando who wanted to play on the front line. I almost wonder if they're going to combine it in that sense again, although full front line comp probably not as favorable on the map of Serpent because of the high ground, but a Makoa and Ying being picked up by University of Toronto. Not too much different from last time, other than the Ying, and maybe finding that she was really hard to break through on that last map.
Without a doubt, and Fernando is hovered on right now for North Dakota State, along with a Grover. Interesting choices thus far, as we're going to have possibly some more stun lock coming out of the deep roots from Grover's crippling axe throw, if that's the legendary that is so choosed. And I was about to say, we need to take an eye to see if there's going to be any interesting picks. We did not see any Shaolin or Drogos the last time, and Bomb King will make his appearance relatively early in the draft as well. And he does well on Serpent Beach, thanks to, again, you had mentioned it, a lot of that open space vertically. He's able to move around a lot more freely than in other situations and other maps. So that combined with Victor will be the two leading damage dealers for the side of the University of Toronto, and North Dakota State to respond will pick up some blast damage of their own, and Eevee and Pip as well. So actually, to be completely honest, that's a lot of blast damage across the board when you put Fernando in the conversation with those other two.
Yeah, most definitely. However, with the new item system and the nerf to the blast shields in Haven, maybe just going for those picks regardless, because they know that the red items are going to be the ones picked up a lot earlier. But the Bomb King pickup, I also assume, to deter any possibility of another triple frontline comp, going to help them out a lot with that. And Sky to finish.
Oh my goodness. I thought for a second they might just be trolling the pick, as they were hovered on it for quite a while, but not the case, as Sky gets locked in. And again, if you're unfamiliar with the Paladin scene, Sky, the one stealth character in the game, or at least the more stealth character in the game, is not played all that often. And it'll be interesting to see how she is able to deal not only with the fact that she's going to be the one real big flanker for the side of University of Toronto, but she's also going to have to find a way to do damage to two support players and two frontliners. So we'll have to see how Sky comes into play. And is this a situation where you approve of the Sky here, Smidgen, or is this one that seems a little bit unorthodox and not advised?
It's hard to say until it gets going. The one thing that I can take note of is Fernando. If the Sky is able to get a solid flank onto the Fernando, although you wouldn't think that a flanker is so good at killing a frontliner, Sky's a little bit different in that her poison bolts do a percentage damage, and they do a little bit of bonus if you happen to hit all three. So I'm hoping that the Sky opts for the legendary card that resets all cooldowns upon a kill, maybe look for one early pick and then turn to the Fernando and just completely melt him. It is possible, not to mention the shield destruction in the ultimate. So Torvald not going to find himself in a very good position with no mobility.
Without a doubt, we'll have to see how the Sky is played. This is map number 2. We'll be jumping into Serpent Beach with the matchup between North Dakota State and the University of Toronto. And in we go to the nighttime setting, just near all these creepy serpents. And again, we'll take a look at the rosters as they have flip-flop spots. So the blue team will be consisting of Raishin on Grover, the Jolly Llama playing Torvald, Bricks 12 on Fernando, Radish Friends will be playing Pip, and Matrosina will be playing Eevee. That makes up the Bison from North Dakota State.
And over on the University of Toronto, wearing the red shorts this time around, they are going to have Bull King on Victor, Skin UAE on Sky, Sergeant XD on Bomb King, Wobbuffet on Makoa, and Gaze playing the Ying using the Resonance legendary for those shatter damage.
3,
Yeah, a couple of interesting choices. We don't see a lot of these characters being played in the current competitive meta, so it will be a catalyst from Pip, the reprieve coming out for Eevee, and you mentioned the resonance for the Ying, and interestingly enough, preparation coming out for Sky. We'll have to see how she's able to do things as First Blood does go the way of Toronto, but they are being pushed back as, again, the Torvald is just getting right in the face of everybody, not really caring whatsoever who he gets faced up, but he does catch the very edge of a Grumpy Bomb stun, so it will result in the University of Toronto finding the kills, and Sky is actually making her impact felt as she was essentially going out for free on the back end, looking for damage and keeping the Grover pretty significantly far away from those frontliners, so no healing coming in, and that results in the University of Toronto finding themselves up in capture percentage as it gets to above 50%.
And North Dakota State not really finding as much success running the Torvald and the Fernando straight in against the Bomb King, and a Sky sitting behind them. Just a much different story without their Ying as well to be in a line of sight. I noticed that they didn't have their supports move up in time, and now Wobbuffet, finding himself very low, is going to shell spin out while Bobata King and Gaze hold this down on the Ying and Victor, but Brix is moving in on the Fernando, manages to get one, almost two. The Dimensional Link is going to save Gaze for now, and with 90% on the point for University of Toronto, Wobbuffet wants to get back on, although it's only 63% on the side of North Dakota State. Maybe a little preemptive move there. Gaze does happen to go down, and now with this big stagger going on and capture percentage ticking up and up for North Dakota State, it's going to be really hard to retake this right now.
Yeah, but enough to say about the smoke bomb that just came down at a point. It actually kept the blue team from finding anyone to hit at as they were completely blinded out. The Sky has stayed alive a lot longer than you normally see, and the ticking time bomb coming out will not find enough damage to confirm, and the Evil Mojo into the backline to solo out the Makoa for the Pip, so finding a couple of isolated kills, and in the face of that, North Dakota State finds themselves now up 1-0 on the scoreboard after that brilliant retake and hold.
Now Radish Friends moving up so aggressively here. The Bomb King is already low, but he doesn't happen to find them before he goes down. And now Brix is just so far up front after that hook goes down as well. And, you know, they're playing a little more scared now that they know that these Grumpy Bombs that come out with the Demolition Legendary are going to completely destroy their shields, putting them in a rough position on this push. But the Whirlwind is going to keep Raishin himself alive as Radish Friends moves in even deeper, just like last time, just looking to pull their team back. Doesn't find anything once again, and with a minute 47 left on the clock, Torvald already at half HP, uses the Hyper Beam, but goes down, and the payload is at a stall here.
Almost an opportunity to send 3 off the map, but couldn't find quite enough of the angle as he was taken out. One person not captured in that beam channel. And the barrage now coming out, speaking of channels, as it finds some confirmed damage on the Pit, but he's able to weightless away from most of that. And another interesting legendary to point out is the fact that the Grover has taken Rampant Blossoming and not actually going for the Deep Roots triple, so not going to get any roots, looking for the extra additional health per second after that Blossom comes out. So we'll have to take a look and see what his healing stats are after this. But the Ancient Rage coming out in the defensive effort for Wobbuffet on the Makoa. He's zoning away 3, and it fully forces everybody away, and the Immortal also comes out to keep everybody alive, and that will sustain with nobody falling on the back end of either ultimate. But still, a nice pull from Makoa will result in Grover's demise, and a brilliant Poppy Bomb, or pardon me, a Grumpy Bomb, as the Demolition take care of shields and health pools alike, as it finds a conversion of 2 kills, and now finally the defense really starting to get going as they get themselves set up and get themselves what should be a full team wipe, and it is.
And still all 5 of them up, staying nice and healthy from those heals coming out of Gaze. And, you know, that Ancient Rage, while it didn't kill anybody, he zoned 4, got 3 low, made an ultimate come out. And on top of that, when everybody wanted to try to back out, he got a hook, made him regress, but a big chicken coming out, Evil Mojo, doesn't find more than 1, and they're on the back burners here, although there is the Toxic Time Bomb. Does manage to knock down a shield from the Fernando, but not much else, as the Whirlwind keeps the entire team of North Dakota State alive. And a King Bomb trying to follow up onto the Torvald, but doesn't find the damage as he gets a recharge and a Hyper Beam, knocking 2 off the map as the barrage comes down on 3 and manages to convert all the kills right after a hook onto the Eevee will seal the deal, and that is a full team wipe once again, going away at University of Toronto with a great defense here.
And a triple king for Volbeat King on the back end of getting 1 from the barrage and following up the confirmed damage after 2 more were absolutely obliterated in their health pool department from that. And as we take a look at the net worth, it is relatively even The Victor helping get himself on board with 1,700 plus credits thus far. And as we look at the damage dealt, Sky is up there. 43,000 damage thus far, 53 for the Victor. And again, as we take a look at damage shielding, it does favor the Fernando and Torvald, and healing with the Rampant Blooming is going to favor the Grover over the Ying. That comes at the back end of there being 2 supports. So possible new support player to put in the conversation, as Grover has found himself some significant healing early on.
Most definitely, although Rampant Blooming gonna have a hard time making any value out of that card as the game goes on. With the 1-to-1 here, if it ends up going too much longer, the cauterizes that come online are going to completely negate that legendary, making it kind of a risky pickup. But if they can keep the momentum that they had earlier, you already see them on point here with 15% going the way of North Dakota State. They are going to find themselves in a great position if they keep these capture points and credit leads. The Eevee finding herself very low, and now Brick's trying to make a move as nobody has dropped yet. It's quite an extended fight. Finally, Raishin finds a kill onto the Sky, and there is an Evil Mojo coming out once again, but nobody able to follow up on any of it. They get out just in the nick of time, and now Illusory Rift coming out from Gaze is going to keep his team alive while they keep this trade going on and take out Radish Friend.
Yeah, this is a really good sustain from the red team of University of Toronto on the back end of what would have been a very devastating Pip ultimate. Ooh, but just as I say that, the sustain, this is a battle of the healers right now as a brilliant Whirlwind comes out for Raishin to keep North Dakota State involved, but still the Ancient Rage is too much of a health pool and too much cleave damage as the Grover does fall, and cleaning up kills around the outside is the Victor as well, getting himself one, and Sky looking for some extra damage as he continues to plug away with those poison bolts on those big health pool targets. And at 78%, it is stalled out for North Dakota State, and it evens up now in total for the University of Toronto as they look to possibly take an advantage 2-1 if they can find the conversion here.
And now Gaze finding himself very low. It's only the Eevee that's able to do some harass damage here, but they do manage to capture. University of Toronto getting their first capture point here in this set, and now finding any kind of momentum here to try to move up against this Torvald, who's just holding this corner like a boss. The Pip is above. The Toxic Time Bomb does come out, knocks down the Fernando shield, and takes him down to nearly nothing. There's no follow-up onto the Fernando, however, but they do manage to pick up the Torvald, and now still 4 alive for the University of Toronto. It's a 4v3 situation. The Eevee gets hooked and killed very quickly, and now Bricks is gonna have to back up here from that Grumpy Bomb that can just instantly destroy his shield, and it does. A great Evil Mojo back onto the whole team, but no follow-up as they had to back up after that hook. They got a little bit scared, maybe just not communicating that it was coming out right then, and now they're finding themselves on their heels as a hook goes onto the Pip, and he finds himself down again, and now a 5v4 situation with the Illusory Rift and a Barrage coming out. But Immortal to counter, really great, beautiful Immortal. Hopefully he has the shield in the time, but no Hyper Beam to keep the rest of the team hopefully alive. They do still lose 3 anyway, and that's just going to be such a quick push. They're going to be staggered for quite a long time as Pip tries to hold the high ground here, and all 5 are still up on the side of University of Toronto.
If they can find a hook, it would be very devastating for the defensive team, but all 5 are here, and they're all still alive with good health pools as Whirlwind comes out to make sure that continues to be the case, and looking for this defensive hold this North Dakota State very strongly. A couple of pushbacks to the Ice Storm, and there's a good combination as the Ice Storm comes out with the Evil Mojo to counter and to try to get this all moving. Things not going as well for the red team as they maybe anticipated, but still finding a couple of damage and getting some kills. Another Toxic Time Bomb. Everybody is low, but Gaze actually finds the double kill before it goes off. So still the kills are converted, and now North Dakota State look like they might be in trouble as the University of Toronto have an opportunity to make this 3-1, and with only the Pip left alive, it can only go one way, and it will as the University of Toronto take a lead now up 3-1 in this second map.
I'm loving that Sergeant XD is using these Poppy Bombs to displace the enemy. Instead of just using it for mobility, it played a big key role there in breaking up the big death ball that North Dakota State was trying to hold there on the capture point. And not to mention, these Grumpy Bombs just doing so much work. They're running away from them. They throw their shields up. He throws a Grumpy. They all have to run away if they don't want to lose their shield. And it's making them just play so much more defensively here.
Without a doubt, and taking a look at some of the charts, the net worth is starting to even up the later the game goes, even though now it does favor 3 of the players from University of Toronto. But the damage stats, 104,000 for Victor, 80,000 for Sky, and nobody else is really even close by. Pip is the next closest, but he's still 15K below, sitting at just 65K. And again, looking at the healing, Grover still in the lead, 88,000, getting more of that as that passive goes on. Ancient Rage right in the front of all that front line, looking for the cleave damage. Will focus down the Grover. Can they find the kill? They do, and right back onto point is Wabafat, but not finding the Fernando right away. They opt for the Torvald first, and Ying is trying to get these illusions set up in these cheeky little corners and nooks and crannies. She's sitting on a 26 streak, which has been really instrumental in the University of Toronto coming back into this, and with some barrage confirmed damage, there was more cleanup around the point, and the University of Toronto looking strong as they continue their momentum push. You can see all those flashing numbers on the right side of your screen associated with how big those kill streaks are. We're seeing some massive numbers right now.
Oh, an Evil Mojo onto 3 people onto the point. Still nobody there to follow up. Once again, they managed to get out of the chicken form. The Illusory Rift comes out to counter any of the damage that is coming in. And now 2 dropping on the side of North Dakota State make that 3. The Torvald, the last one, that is 4. And now Grover, the last one alive, fighting for his life on the side, as it's 96% for the University of Toronto. And they do take this game, tying up this set to a 1-1.
A very strong comeback in the whole second set here, as the University of Toronto did not look like they were well put together on the first map, but this one going much more in their favor as they were able to find damage, making the Sky work. This is the big real surprise there, as again, 89,000 total damage for her, 100 and almost 18,000 for the Victor of Bobita King. So damage, damage, damage being the theme for the University of Toronto. And North Dakota State just not able to match up, even with the shielding numbers getting both characters who have shields above 6K, or 6 digits, over 120,000 each for each of them. That's a very notable mark, but just not enough mitigation, as there was too many focus fired kills for the side of the University of Toronto.
Not just the focus fire, but the sky bombs that they have to worry about, the demolition grumpies. Although Bomb King, sitting at the lowest damage for his team, played such a pivotal role in almost every single fight, taking just like 5,000 health away from a Torvald shield, or the 7,000 away from the Fernando shield, is just insane. And I think that these picks were just really great. I haven't seen people mix it up too much. I haven't seen Bomb King and Sky make it into play, and seeing it work just so well was really impressive by them.
Without a doubt, we'll have to see how both teams go into the locker room and come back out for map number 3 of this best of 3 set. We will get that queued up and bring out this final, the finale of this series between North Dakota State and University of Toronto in just a bit.
The saga begins. Begin war.
Welcome back, everybody. We are in to the third and final map of this best-of-3 series between North Dakota State and the University of Toronto. North Dakota State taking a convincing win in map number 1, going up 4-0 very quickly. And this time through, University of Toronto responds with a 4-1 of their own. And so looking to finish this one off in hot fashion on Timber Mill will be the third and final map in North Dakota State. With the first pick, once again, decide to go with the Torvald, as it has been one of the big preferences in North America as of lately to get those front lines going, and Torvald has been one of the instrumental factors in that. And on top of that, the other big one of the conversation has been Makoa, as he's picked up second along with a Maldamba for Toronto. So again, Maldamba finding a lot of priority in the healing department for both teams thus far.
I'm favoring Toronto's draft right now already with the Makoa. They need to have some kind of frontliner, to have the health presence, the shield presence, at the same time as the ability to find kills on such a large map. And with the hook, he does bring that. Not to mention Maldamba able to snipe everybody around if he maintains a good line of sight. But with the Ruckus Ying pickup, North Dakota also looking rather decent, as they can still just have someone sit on point. But the Ruckus with the long range damage also able to keep everybody back. So over on Toronto, Victor and Fernando in response, the Victor is going to be able to do tons of work. We've seen it previously. He shreds Torvald shields. He can shred Ruckus's emitter, and a Fernando to be able to hold down that point while the Makoa can move around most likely.
Yeah, that's a big combination. And what we saw previously with Makoa Fernando in previous to Season 1 patches was that aspect of Fernando will shield, Makoa will hook, and you'll find the kills were needed. It will be a Drogos and a pick covered up. And again, on Timber Mill, Canessa is one of those picks that we typically look for, and Toronto currently has Canessa hovered. We'll see if they end up locking her. They do. So Canessa going to be up top looking for those picks. And she'll have a couple of targets, although she's going to have to work through some shields first and foremost. But I really enjoyed the Canessa pick just mostly because, again, Drogos is not going to have a lot of room to work with. And once he goes airborne, he'll be right in the line of sight of Canessa 9 times out of 10.
Most definitely. Hit scan, so valuable against that aerial target in Drogos, and being able to shut down someone who deals so much damage is going to be integral for them. And in combination with the Victor going to be able to do a ton of work himself, and no flankers notably on the side of North Dakota State. So they may be having themselves find a really hard time taking down any of the damage on the side of University of Toronto.
Without a doubt, we'll have to see how the storyline progresses and how it concludes as we get to this best of 3. Again, North Dakota State sitting near the bottom of their division with only the 1 set win thus far. This would be instrumental in possibly providing them a comeback opportunity to get themselves into the playoff bracket. It's a do or die for North Dakota State. We'll have to see how they're able to bring things back to life here on Timber Mill against the University of Toronto. So here we are in the Enchanted Forest map set, one of the rarely seen maps in Paladins competitive of Timber Mill, and it will be the proving grounds for both of these teams as they look to secure a potential victory. And looking at the rosters, it will be for the blue team: Raishin on Ying, the Jolly Llama playing Ruckus, Bricks 12 on Drogos, Matracina on Pip, and Radish Friends playing Torvald. That makes up the Bison from North Dakota State.
Now back over to the University of Toronto once again, wearing the red shorts. We have Bolbita King playing the Victor again, Sergeant XD on the Fernando this time around, Skin UAE on the Canessa, opting for the Eagle Eye. Hope that he has the aim that it takes to land those headshots. Wobbuffet on the Makoa, and Gaze playing Maldamba.
Yeah, we'll see if the communication is key as well. If the Canessa can find shots immediately after a Makoa pluck, that would result in just about everybody falling, as that's going to take a lot of health away. And very early on, opening up with the ceremonious fireball right onto the Ruckus. Torvald into the back, though, able to get right into the face of this Makoa and Fernando. This is actually a dangerous spot for that Torvald to be. First blood does go to the Canessa, though, who again is posted up. Not where we typically see her. She's actually on the near side bridge and not up top. The Victor was where she usually stands, and not what you normally see as Victor's fall-off damage is pretty incremental, but still finding a way to poke and prod. But the blue team of North Dakota State finds themselves in control of the point early, up to above 48%.
surprisingly enough, North Dakota State with the comp that I didn't think was going to be able to hold it, maintaining 3 people on here. The Ying playing a big role in that, not to mention these timely emitters coming out from the ruckus as he uses another tick and takes down Sergeant XD. And now University of Toronto on the run. Although the Knessa is back, landing another great shot onto that Drogo, taking him right down, but it's not going to be enough as 99% and a first capture point goes the way of North Dakota State.
In a minute 40 in, the Torvald already had used the hyper beam. He's the first one to get his charge and the first to push that E-key as he's able to push people away, and that was incremental as far as being able to secure that point. So North Dakota State finding a 1-0 lead, and it'll really come down to what can happen on these corners and on these high grounds as Victor and Knessa will have a very nice line of sight. Barrage coming out right into the back line as Drogos was sniped away once again by Knessa. Again, this is not the best map in the world for Drogos as his options are limited. And again, against the Knessa, it is prime pickings for anyone with a sniper rifle. Headhunter coming out as well, looking for damage. Will find some shots onto the Torvald. He will be able to recharge back up, and the Hexafire right here is essentially by himself. The Jolly Llama in an unfavorable spot. He's going to be forced up against a lot of pressure, but will be able to get a protective bubble and get himself right on the backside. As finally, on the back end of all that, Drogos able to find himself a kill against that Knessa, who has been so pesky to him thus far.
And now Drogo's going to have a lot more room to operate, especially if he can manage to take down this Victor, as he's looking for a 1v1 up there, not in the line of sight of his team, does get taken down by Bolbita King playing that Victor, and now he has this roof of free reign to just shoot down on somebody. The Pip trying to shoot up at him, but Pip shooting upwards just kind of a hard thing to do, and when you're depending on that splash damage, you got to land those direct hits. A hyper beam is going to push everybody back, but it doesn't get them almost any space on that payload. It's stalled out once again within a couple seconds, and now the Victor's still on the roof, getting bullied by this Drogos at the moment. He does manage to find the kill, and now taking down the Knessa, and the Victor is going to give him tons of room as this Ancient Rage to try to hold this off. A Dread Surf, it sounded like it was about to come out, but interrupted at the last second. The Dragon finds nobody, but the payload continues to move as there's only one left here.
The shell spin was used just underneath Drogos before he could get off that ledge, and Drogos completely lost sight of where the Makoa was. So, well, essentially a none for none, as the Ancient Rage did not provide much besides zoning, and the ultimate from Drogos more used for repositioning in that aspect. And again, who can get up top and control the high ground seems to be the trend, as Knessa is right by the sawmill looking for extra damage, and will find the confirmed shot and kill onto the ruckus. Torvald very low on his actual health pool, able to get a recharge up. Headhunter procced one more time with 10 seconds left. A very interesting choice to utilize that ultimate, but finding more damage still is the Knessa, as he's able to get another kill and look to completely zone everybody else out. It's going to be difficult for this duo of the supports. Oh my goodness, is that Illusionary Rift coming out by himself? Smidgen, tell me it isn't so.
Unfortunately, it is true, and this Knessa just made the defense for her team. As soon as the payload started pushing down that last main road, it's the longest line of sight in the map, and just such a stretch for them. They couldn't get anybody back to the Knessa. She was able to take the Torvald off on the roof. She was able to take the Pip down to half inside the building, didn't let anybody move up, took down the Drogos when he came back like she has been doing all game, and just solid defense all around. And they need to find somebody that can make it to this Knessa if they're going to be able to convert any payload if they manage to capture this next time.
Without a doubt, you see the net worth chart does favor the squad that was able to capture the neutral point first in North Dakota State, but the big storyline is the damage dealt. Victor is on top, but just by a mere handful, tens of damage points, as Ruckus is just behind in the Knessa, again, confirming a lot of kills, but also fighting 36,000 damage, big numbers for her thus far, and we'll have to see how they decide to play this one out, as again, the itemization is kind of a potpourri for both squads. Hexafire to open things up, and it goes right in front of a Fernando shield, but Torvald was in the back line, so a little bit of split focus. Was that a Maldama tried to channel the Dreadster, but was taken down before it could come out. We heard the sound trigger, but it looks like he still maintained 100% charge as he fell before it could be properly channeled. Makoa also falling, so North Dakota State, showing that they are able to be victorious on these early capture point fights, have found themselves in another advantage very early on, above 50% of the capture point.
Now the Torvald is already on the roof and takes down Bolbita King, the last player alive for University of Toronto there. It's just such a really, really hard time to get through this Ying and Ruckus frontline. The repulsor field doing a lot of work, mitigating so much damage. And while the Drogos has fallen at the beginning of nearly every single fight to the Knessa, the Victor and the Canessa just not able to find anything afterwards. The Pip was playing on the side of the roof and just hammering them with those shots. A Hyper Beam comes out, not really finding anybody, almost a full whiff there. But Drogo's in a really tough position, taken down by the Canessa once again. The payload freely moving, while University of Toronto manages to find 2 kills now and keeping them back, but not keeping the payload from moving, unfortunately. An early shield from Fernando to block some damage as the hook comes out and converts onto the Pip, a headhunter. Now taking down the Ruckus just so quickly, but not finding much else. Hopefully able to get that ultimate back in time, as with a minute 47 left, there's going to be a lot of time to need to keep this payload in place.
Nice dimensional link play from Ryashin, able to keep himself alive for a lot longer than normally would. He also gained a protective shield from the Torvald, but still, Canessa is perched up right up top with a perfect line of sight, look down upon her enemies, and with a minute 30 on the clock, nobody from the blue team is really all that close. And I was about to say, we haven't seen Pip get on the high ground very often. He's now finding a spot to get at least closer towards the top high level of high ground to get those lobs to really confirm some damage. The Ancient Rage comes out, and here comes another Dragon's Fury looking for damage. It will not find anybody as the Slither goes right through it. What a great play from the Maldamba to sit there and say, hey, come right on in, the water's fine, and then just dives his way right past the Dragon Punch and not able to convert as the channel ran out, as he was very close to running into the Makoa, but misses it nonetheless. And as we get under a minute, the blue team again not finding many legs to stand on as we get this payload push continuing to falter.
Now Hexafire coming out, but with no targets to really find, just gets sniped out in return, while Brix does manage to get the Canessa as a trade. This Victor is just in a great position over in the side house to just keep hammering down onto the payload. He's getting those free grenades off, although his health is very low. He's got to play it careful here. The Pip has spotted him out, and he's going to have to use that hustle, heal up a little bit, as the Makoa just so low. Torvald pushing straight into the shield. Nobody responding to it to do anything. No, finally the Canessa comes back, and the Victor drops down from the roof to cover their team, and almost, yes, they do take him out. And the Fernando, the entire time in the background, holding this payload in place against a Ruckus and a Ying all on his own. Now his whole team regroup with him, and he is barely staying alive with that Torvald shield as the Ying's dimensional link comes out, and another headhunter into overtime. A little questionable. She doesn't have any targets to hit. The Victor did fall to the Pip, and she wasn't able to find line of sight of him there.
Yeah, with the proper picks, it's very well keeping North Dakota State pushing, but the Maldamba ultimate, the Dreadserpent comes out to try to get some fear off onto their opponents, but not enough damage, as it's just the 2 frontliners left alive for the side of the University of Toronto. And now, with the Immortal not, I don't know if it didn't look like it came all the way out, as it was triggered, but no, still 100% charged, so the Immortal will still be there, even though we did hear a little bit of the sound cue, but still, overtime in effect. Blue team continues to push, but they have to be careful, as it's been in overtime for a while. One false step too far away from the payload would likely result in a successful defense. And with Torvald, Ruckus, and Ying here, can they really do it? Hexafire right into the face, and then Immortal does come right back out again, so having to change focus from the Ruckus would not be able to convert the kill on Fernando, and still finding a way to stay alive thanks to the Maldama Gourd, and overtime continues to be in effect, but still, it's a stagger. The blue team is trying to get back in full force. They've stayed alive for a while, the Hyper Beam to push people away, and things continue to look good as the Dragon's Fury comes out. It does find Fernando on the back. Makoa trying to keep this one in contest as long as possible, Smidgen, but I don't know if they're going to be able to find enough damage to get it done.
Well, so as you said it, they got to stay on that payload that has been ticking a long time, and the Torvald is just, he has to stick to it, finding himself in a rough position here against 3 people in his face, with the Ying, played by Raishin, doing such a good job of keeping him up regardless, finally sniped out by the Canessa. Now it's Torvald, he's the last one here. The Ruckus is finally getting there in time, but the overtime for so long, and just as you said before, ticks down in less than a second, just as the Ruckus is about to touch it. Now, with a 2-2 here, I think that University of Toronto needs to change up their gameplay. At what point do they gotta say, trying to go to point with the Maldamba and our 2 front lines is not working. Their healer and their frontliners are doing a lot more work. We can't even move up. They need to try to find a flank with this Makoa, I believe, Shiv.
Yeah, very good point, and unfortunately, Headhunter was popped at the very last second. Not sure if Ruckus was going to get to point, was the Canessa, so using that ultimate to try to get some extra secure damage to secure the defense for a team, but it results in absolutely nothing besides a mere 1% charge as we dig into this 3rd round. And it has been very close. The net worth started to even out just slightly, but still, the 2 capture points going in favor of North Dakota State results in pardon me, the itemization that you're starting to see on screen. A lot of investment into multiple categories, not really much focus whatsoever at the very moment. Damage dealt now favoring the Ruckus, but Canessa and Victor are still up there. And again, as you mentioned, it has been a very successful point contest thus far for North Dakota State, but Fernando able to find himself through the back, able to get the Ruckus off. So if they're able to find damage onto the Ying, this very well could be exactly what Toronto needs to get themselves back in and find themselves some early capture thus far on this capture point.
Yeah, maybe a missed opportunity there for that Evil Mojo being held onto by Matricina, but still going to play a big role in the retake. As long as his team can wait, they need to make sure that they have all 4 up and then try to contest the point at the last moment until their pip can get back to get that Evil Mojo off. There's almost nothing to return besides a Barrage and a Dread Serpent. A Hyper Beam to push everyone off point by a little bit more time as the Dread Serpent does come out in combination with the Barrage down onto the Torvald in the back, and now stuck in the other side of the map. The Jolly Llama on Ruckus does still go down, so it's up to the Torvald to hold this point as another snipe shot comes out onto the Drogos and he goes down. It's just the Ying now, and I think that this one's going the way of University of Toronto this time around.
Yeah, the huge hook on the Drogos mid-air, able to secure that kill as well. So brilliant play from the Makoa. And of course, you heard it, the Headhunter came out once again as Canessa able to find the secure damage. The University of Toronto goes up now 3-2. After 2 successful defenses, they finally find themselves on some offensive pressure as the 2 frontliners in Makoa and Fernando have been able to stay alive and get themselves set up in the front to counter out this Torvald and Ruckus. And again, Ruckus being the absolute monster so far for the blue team is starting to become the focus of these Dredgeacres, and it has kept him very low on HP. That plus some fireballs reduces healing, and he is not even close to being into this fight. Hexafire comes out, but a very narrow line of sight, and it will not see much as everyone from the red team just backs up very casually. The Dragon Punch channeled from downtown, looking for possibly a conversion, but goes in completely blind. So once again, Bricks missing his 3rd ultimate of the game. Not what you want to see from a Drogos when it comes to dealing with this big front line from University of Toronto.
That Hyper Beam able to buy just a little bit of time, probably shouldn't have been used as well, but those Dragon Punches just constantly being channeled so far back, so far away that he doesn't have time besides a second to find his target when he does finally approach them. And now with both of the frontliners down on the side of North Dakota State, as well as their Pip, who is still holding on to the Evil Mojo, and a Headhunter onto the Drogos takes him out as well. Raishin is the last one alive. If he gets caught right here, that is going to be a big stagger. It's a 12-second respawn when you are on defense, and he's just dancing around this portal right now, trying to stay alive. Nobody's spotting him out. And now the Makoa does finally spot him out, pushing in to them. The Evil Mojo finally, but nobody is following up right away. No, they do. They managed to take down the Fernando. It's going to be a huge pick, but with the Dread Serpent and an Ancient Rage coming out in return, North Dakota State finds themselves with only 1 person alive. Matricina on the Pip manages to get 1 kill, but now nobody is going to
I don't know if anyone's going to get up in time here, Smidgen. Ruckus is the next closest, but he's not even moving at the moment. No one's going to get there. And on the back end of an Ancient Rage and the Dread Serpent capitalizing a full team wipe, it is University of Toronto finding themselves 2 offensive captures, and they get themselves a secure win in a very tight best of 3. They win that 3rd map at a score of 4-2. In incredible fashion.
Yeah, I think the comp that they had ended up choosing was just so much stronger. They took a little bit to find their stride, as the first 2 capture points did go the side of North Dakota State. But in the end, the Canessa being able to find those Drogos picks, making him nearly a non-factor in the game, not to mention when he finally had his ultimates, just missing them when they really counted, only at 49,000 damage. And you know, at the beginning of the game, the Canessa was a little bit lower, but now at the top damage, way up there. And then the Ruckus following second for North Dakota State. The Ruckus was really the only thing holding everybody off of point. And the second that they lost him there for that 3rd capture point is when they started to lose all of their momentum.
Oh, without a doubt, and you can see the damage numbers coming out for Canessa, topping above 122,000 damage. So that Headhunter coming into play, 41-6. with 8 solo kills. Again, that's what you like to see from a Canessa on Timber Mill, and that's exactly what they got. And actually leading up the credit total for her team at 2,500 credits. On the flip side, though, Ruckus was able to find 103,000 damage and nearly 3,000 credits. But still, the Drogos was the big story, sitting at 11-18, only 49,000 damage. Again, Drogos being absolutely shut down by Canessa, and that resulted in what you saw on the scoreboard, which was the University of Toronto moving on and securing themselves a win. And they will tally that one back on. So North Dakota State, their hopes are starting to become very, very thin as far as moving on into the playoff bracket with their current standings of only having the one set win thus far. But on the flip side, the University of Toronto looking strong as they continue to move their way through their division and will likely be a candidate for a top seed as they move into the playoff bracket. And again, this is Selection Sunday in the collegiate basketball scene, and we still have a couple more weeks of gameplay of the collegiate Paladin scene. And, of course, you can find more information on the AVGL by going to avglcollege.org, where you can see more details of not only just the teams, but their rosters and where they are from. And, of course, you can take a look at the format as we close out, not just this week, but hopefully one more hot week of Paladins action before we get to the playoff brackets. But that will do it for our production today. Stay tuned as Counter-Strike Go will be coming up next for the collegiate scene of the AVGL. You can find out more information on that scene and what the results have been thus far by, again, going to avglcollege.org. That homepage will have links to get to all of those other gaming destinations. But on behalf of Brandon Rudruki and production and Smidge and my co-caster, I've been El Hold Shift Donofrio. We will see you guys next week for more March Madness in the Paladin scene.
The champions of the night. I'm ready to love. I'm ready to love. I'm ready to love. Champions of the night. Can't tell if we're dreaming now. We watch as the fire falls down. One thing playing on our minds. Time stops and we don't make a sound. You crave the love I gave, and we'll do it again. A cold night getting warmer now. The ground shakes as our love gets loud. We are the champions of the night. We are the champions of the night. Yeah. We are the fighting tide, the ones that burn so bright. We are the champions